If we didn't have to go anywhere, we could just look outside. It was gorgeous this morning. But going somewhere, you're like, okay, that's a lot of snow. But I'm grateful for where I live, grateful for Northern Michigan, and I will not resent it. I was in Florida, and I know that Christmas in Florida, to me, was really twerking my brain. I was in Disney. We went to Disney City, downtown Disney, they call it, or something like that. That's the old name. But we went there, and they had this huge, beautiful, beautiful Christmas tree, and then palm trees all around it. And I just kept staring at it going, I can't wrap my mind around palm trees and Christmas trees together. But you know what was really funny? Because we walked all over downtown Disney, and everybody was Christmas carols, which I really appreciated about downtown Disney, and even Disney World when we went there. Every park was playing Christmas music loud, pretty loud, and it was all Christmas music. It was Silent Night, O Little Town of Bethlehem, O Holy Night, Jingle Bell Rock. I mean, it was all the Jesus ones too. And you literally could feel the presence of God, especially with all the beautiful songs. I'm telling you, some of the O Holy Night, that's one of my favorite. I can't help it. I got to belt it out. And when we were in downtown Disney, I was telling Kathy, I said, I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling Christmas. I'm trying. But as soon as we went to this one show and they started doing all the Christmas songs, I'm like, there, I'm feeling Christmas. So Christmas isn't necessarily, obviously, have to have snow. I think Christmas is of the heart. And it really is about Jesus. When I hear Silent Night and O Holy Night, it literally makes me so grateful for the Lord coming to this earth and the King of Glory as a baby. Just dawning in all of humanity and arising. And so I want us just this morning, I'm really grateful. I thank you, Pastor, for giving us a moment to change our clothes because we had dog pee on our clothes. You know, I have 3 dogs, and don't drop something at my house. Sometimes they will use that to, oh, that looks like a good place to go to the bathroom. And I don't have to go outside in the cold. Yay. So we came home yesterday from Christian's birthday party, and my house, Tim walked out in the living room. He's like, really stinks out here. And I didn't smell it, so I came out, and he didn't warn me, and there was like this brown stuff on the couch. I'm like, what is that? And I wiped it. It was poop. Poop everywhere. So, I mean, poop everywhere, all over the carpet. Lucy decided she was going to just baptize and anoint our entire living room with her whatever. So I had a lot of grace last night. You never know if you have grace until you have to use it. And it was 2 hours of cleanup, bathing the dog, cutting the dog, everything you could do to the dog, and then putting her in her room, drying her hair. But you know, and then I'm like, God, I went to go do my notes, write up the rest of my notes. I'm like, ah. So, you know, it's interesting when you go through life and you gotta draw on grace. And I'm just bathing her, going, I love you, Lucy. And I love Lucy. It's a show. You need to make sure you love Lucy. But I'm grateful anyways. I'm thankful even for my dogs, and I'm thankful that they bring out the grace of God in me. Pee on the sweater, poop on everything. Poop on everything. But, you know, you just make it do. So I am now fashioned by beautiful girls who love me in this church. Between Reagan and Laura, they're like, borrow my clothes. Thank you. So, you know, I want to share this morning a thought, and it was going around in my heart all week. And I kept hearing one phrase, what sort of king? What sort of king? You know, earlier this week I had a friend message me, and she was so sweet. She said, Pastor Cindi, I heard that you and Pastor Tim don't believe in heaven, that you believe heaven is, that we're living in heaven right now. And I snickered. I literally did. I wrote this on my Facebook page. I snickered because I thought, well, if this is heaven, I'm missing my mom. I don't know where she is. She should be saying hi sometime soon. And, if this is heaven, dogs don't poop on couches and floors in heaven. So I was thinking all the things that heaven, at least what I think heaven is, wasn't necessarily what I was experiencing. But it really got me thinking, because that was earlier in the week, and I started thinking about, when we sing heaven is living inside, and it's just like heaven on earth, and your presence is heaven to me. In his presence is the fullness of joy. If you're not a joyful person, and you're just sarcastic, and you're cynical and rude and grumpy, that should be a great indicator to us we're not in his presence enough. Whether we live on this earth and we walk in the kingdom, we still have to tap into the presence of Jesus. We have to be aware of his presence. That's why worship and praise will bring an awareness of the presence of God that's already present in our lives, on the inside of us. Because honestly, God can't get any closer to you than he already is. I know we like to say, fall on me, Jesus, and Lord, come, and I understand all that. But he can't get any closer than who he is and what he is on the inside of us. I love Dwight Thompson. We used to go see him in Gatlinburg, and he would take his right hand, he'd go, God is more real than my right hand. And the way he did it was so powerful back then. You're like, yes, that makes so much sense. But it was true. He was saying the Jesus on the inside is more real than anything on the outside. And he wants us to experience the reality of who he is on the inside. Boy, that air, I'm going to have to get in front of it because it literally takes your breath away. I remember this last year. So we are pulling this really close. So I see the whites of your eyes, as my dad would say. And I'm getting out of the wind. But I started thinking about the presence of God and heaven. I know that, the Bible mentions heaven hundreds of times. That place. It also mentions earth. Pray that the kingdom would come on earth as it is in heaven. So Jesus is distinguishing two different places. So we know there's a heaven. And I'm not belittling that and making light of it, because I know my mom lives there and there's people there, but that's not my destination in the sense of that's my only thought, is just to live here and get to heaven. I want to sojourn on the earth. I want my life here, every day here, to be focused on, to be present, to be aware of, so that when my time comes to leave, I lived life. I didn't pine life away waiting for the other side, just over in the glory land in the sweet by and by, and when we all get to heaven. And those songs are really great, and they always set my focus out there. But what I found is they didn't set my focus in here. That heaven is already in me. The presence of God, the fullness of joy, Jesus and all that he is, all that heaven contains and holds, I can tap into if I will but believe his presence is within me. And so, kind of out of that thought, and just mulling that around this week, and the Lord saying to me, and I heard the phrase, what sort of king? What sort of king would come to this earth? When we think of kings and queens and, all the upper aristocrat, my husband and I have been watching a show on Amazon Prime and it's called Poldark. And it's back in the day when society and your status in life really mattered. And if you married below you, all the upper class people would just snub their nose at you and look at, this gentleman married below himself. And so he was snubbed by high society. But one thing I love about this show is the main character has such the heart of Jesus. He cares about the poor, cares about people. He walks through society and he honestly sees people for where they are, not their status. And it just so touches us. I just love that someone actually made a series that represents kingdom. To me, it represents kingdom. And it reminds me of kingdom and who we should be. And what sort of king came to this earth? Was he the king of the aristocrats? The king of the day back then when everyone was like, it's your class, it's your status, it's how much money you have, it's what you look like, it's how you dress. That was the sort of king that he was. What sort of king came to this earth and decided to take on a coat of humanity and live a life here amongst us who were much lower than him, but he elevated us to the status that he was and is. What sort of king does that? I haven't seen one on the earth. Go ahead and just do a history study of the kings and the queens. Even go over to England. Still to this day. And you will see the hierarchy of your ancestry, of your genealogy, who you are, how you matter, because of whose family you were born into. And it was all about family. Even this Poldark, it's all about family. Most people can't help, and nobody really can help the family you were born into. You were just born into that status, into that place in life. But to Jesus, he's like, that's okay. I got this. It's all good. Because I'm going to bring you into the family. The same God in heaven who said in Ephesians, the Father of all those in heaven and on earth. You're all going to be one family. There's not going to be a hierarchy of you're better, you're not as good. You're upper class, you're lower class. You're wealthy, you're poor. You're smart, you're not. He brought us into a family and he just leveled the playing field, and it's called Everybody's in Me. And you all are of such value. What sort of king does that? What sort of king would lay down everything and come here for us? Matthew 2, verse 1. And we know this story, guys. We know the story of the three wise men who were searching, the magi who were searching for the baby. But I love this. It says, now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, where is he who has been born King of the Jews? Well, there's the king. King of the Jews, and then we have Herod. It's sort of different king there. For we've seen a star in the east, and we've come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. I'm sure not all of Jerusalem, but everyone that he would include of any importance was troubled. Maybe there were secret people. There was people secretly in Jerusalem going, yes, bring us a different king. We're really tired of Herod. He's a real stink. And when he gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. So they said to him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it was written by the prophet. See, they knew the prophecies. They followed them. But you, Bethlehem in the land of Judea, are not the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had secretly called the wise men, determined from them what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search diligently for the young child. And when you found him, bring word back to me." What a sneak. We know the motives of his heart. They believed the best of him, which is what you're supposed to do. But obviously, the hindsight is 2020. We knew the motives of his heart, that I can go and worship him too. Yeah, right. With a knife or a sword. When they heard the king, they departed, and behold, the star which they had seen in the east went before him, till it came and stood over where the young child was. Now he's not an infant. We know he's a young child. It's been a while. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they had come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and they fell down and they worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I love this because the Middle East and the Eastern religion, the Eastern people, I should just say, their custom, even to this day, they say, is to never come before a king or royalty without a gift. They always presented a gift. And I think that's interesting because I think in the Western world, we've lost honor in many ways. We've lost honor. If you follow the word, the Bible, the scriptures, and you go through that and you look, you will see where Solomon presented gifts to Majesty, the queen. What was it, Sheba? Was that her name? And how? She presented them to Solomon. I'm sorry. Yes, he didn't get. He showed her his wealth. But you will see throughout Scripture where it was custom to bring a gift, and that gift meant something. Here it's quite cool. The people of the East never approached the presence of kings and great persons without a present in their hands. And you know, at Christmas time, we give gifts, and our tree has a few. And I think this is kind of where we get the custom, because we are celebrating Jesus' birthday. And if we can't naturally give a gift to him as king, by giving gifts to each other, we celebrate him. Because he's in Pastor Brittany, he's in Pastor Darren, he's in Dan. So by giving a gift to you, I'm celebrating, I'm honoring you, and I'm celebrating the Jesus in you. Happy birthday, Jesus. That's what I love. This time of the year, there's so much gift giving. There is so much honor. There's so much honor. Why? Because we give to the King by giving to each other. They brought him frankincense. They brought him myrrh. And this is quite cool. They brought him gold. They offered him incense as their God, gold as their king, and myrrh as united to the human body, subject to suffering and death. They offered him things that they most esteemed among themselves. I loved that when I read that, because, guys, a gift is not a gift unless it has value to you. The Lord taught me that 25 years ago when I was cleaning a house for a lady here in Travers. Very wealthy lady. And in the process of cleaning, she noticed that this was a jewelry box, hand-painted from France, that the lid was broke. And it really upset her. I didn't break it. It was already broke. But it really upset her that the lid was broke. And she just was upset about it and kind of ranting about it a little bit. And before I went to leave, she's like, "Here, take this. You can have it." And so I was like, "Well, thank you. Thanks." And I got in the car, and as I'm driving home, the Lord spoke to me and said, "Throw that away." And I said, "What?" He said, "Throw that away." That had no value to her at all. It was broken, and it disgusted her, and she gave it to you. It's not a gift, Cindi. Throw it away. And he said, you don't give something to someone that disgusts you, that has no value, that even if, maybe it doesn't have value to them, but maybe it has value to you of some sort, like, I like this. A lot of times when I buy something for someone, unfortunately with my girls growing up, I would buy them clothes when they got to a certain age that I really liked. They had value and significance to me, and I'd bring it to them. They're like, no, Mom. No. So after a while, I just stopped trying to dress them, which was probably good. But still, to this day, I'll see something, ask my husband, we'll be out shopping. I'm like, I think this would be perfect for so-and-so. But I'm scared to buy it because I don't know if they would like it. You know, I would love that. So I try to find things that I like still, that I know that they'll like, or that they've put on their Christmas list, or I've seen them wear, I've seen them, you know, they really love chocolate fudge. Yay, I can get them chocolate fudge. So in that aspect, I think in my mind, the Lord shocked me with that. It was like, don't give something to someone that is disgusting or broken to you. Give something of value, even if it's the smallest thing. Even if it's the smallest thing. A bookmark that you made. I love when kids make me something or write a card. That card, their eyes light up when they have made a card for you and they give you the card. They're like, and I made it, Grammy. And I still have some of those. I've kept them. I have one that Caden gave to me on love. Oh my gosh, it melted my heart. I put it on the refrigerator for the longest time. Just about loving people and about loving me. It was so, so sweet. That was a gift from his heart. It was from his heart, and it had value to him, and it had value to me. What was it, a piece of paper with some words? Yeah, but it had value to me. They gave him treasures, things that they valued. I love it because they noticed and they honored and they received a king that day. The king was being validated. I remember years ago, the Lord told me, well, not even years ago, I take that back, about a year and a half ago, do you want vengeance or validation? It's your choice. Because I will validate you. I mean, Jesus, is he not validated today? He could have had vengeance on the cross, but he chose validation. And it took time, because time is always on the side of truth. Always, always, always. Never forget that. And God will validate you if you will just wait and be patient. Don't seek vengeance for your enemies. Don't seek vengeance for those that hurt you. I like this, guys. In Matthew 21, what sort of king comes to this earth? What sort of king? He kind of the words explains it, the scripture explains it, but he sort of explains it too. Matthew 21:1 says, now, when they drew near Jerusalem and came to Bethlehem, whatever that is, I thought it was Bethlehem when I first was, I looked at it and the spell check brought it up and I went, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Bethage maybe? At the Mount of Olives, then Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, go to your village opposite you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. And if anyone says anything, you shall say, the Lord has need of them. And immediately he will send them. All of this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, tell the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you, lowly and sitting on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. So here the prophet said, okay, this king's coming, but he's going to look different. He's a donkey rider. He's not coming in the castle chariot, that is all lit up with footmen and horses and gold streamers and horns blowing. And he's going to look different. He's not going to come in a chariot. That's amazing. And everyone goes, oh, it must be a king is in town. You won't even recognize him. If you don't look through the eyes of Scripture, you would forget what I said. but he's coming on a donkey. He's coming lowly. He's coming meek and humble. This is what the king looks like. What sort of king? Hebrews 7:1 says, and this is representing our King Jesus. In Hebrews 7, verse 1, it says, for this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abram gave a tenth part of all, first being translated king of righteousness, and then also king of Salem, king of peace, without father, without mother, whose genealogy having neither beginning of days nor end of life, and made like the Son of God, remains a priest continually. This Jesus, he's a king of righteousness. He's a king of peace. He's a king of peace. You're not going to recognize him because, see, they were looking for a king that would come and start a war and take over. They were looking for a king that would bring vengeance, not validation. They were looking for a king that would say, you know what? This is my land. This is my Father's house. This is my Father's world. We created this place. It's mine, so move over. Jesus didn't have to muscle his way into society or into life. He came lowly. He kind of snuck in. That's what sort of king he was. Isaiah 9:6 says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder. And his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end. Whenever people tell me, well, you know, the kingdom's not here yet. Here, I would beg to differ. The increase of his government or kingdom, there's going to be no end. But it stops and then it starts again. No, there's no end. His kingdom is here. The king has come. The king is already established his kingdom on this earth. We have to step into it as his people, as his chosen, as his ambassadors. And I was sharing that with this friend of mine that asked me about heaven. I said, no, we live in the kingdom. And I was explaining the difference between the kingdom and how maybe people or she took it or what she had heard. I said, no, we have. Yeah, we have everything living inside of us to experience life now. Here in Matthew 9:35, Jesus went about all the cities and the villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease amongst the people. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion for them because they were weary and scattered like sheep having no shepherd. You know, Jesus was the greatest kingdom preacher ever. He said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Not 2,000 years from now. It's at hand. Was he lying? He was a kingdom preacher. He brought the kingdom. He said, if you casting out devils, the finger of God has come to you. The kingdom is being established when we heal. The kingdom's being established when we love. Right. The kingdom. We're demonstrating the kingdom and the king of the kingdom. Do we live in America with elect President Donald Trump? Yes, we do. But is he my king? No, he's not. That's why I don't have to freak out with who's in charge. Do I pray for them? Yeah, I pray for them. But I'm of a different kingdom. I'm an ambassador of that king.
There it is. Yeah, that's right.
I represent him and that king. And that, I tell you guys, that is going to be our greatest challenge, and it's the church's greatest challenge, to represent the king the way that we're supposed to. You know, when you take someone's name, you don't want to take it in vain. When I married my husband, I took his name. We married Jesus, we took his name. Yeah. So we should do our best, and I understand you have to do that by the grace of God, especially when you have, all kinds of things arise during the day or evening or week. But do the very best you can to take the name of the Lord and walk in the kingdom the way that we should represent him. Walk in grace. Ask him for his help. When I took my husband's name, I took the Markham name. I love the Markham name. I don't want to bring shame to the Markham name. I don't want to bring anybody saying anything bad about the Markham name. I don't want when people say Markham, they go, oh, those people, they lie and cheat and steal. I don't want that. I want the Markham name when I leave the planet to be a good name. I want it when people talk about my children. I want them to say good things about my kids. And they do. I hear it all the time, actually, which always makes your heart swell as a parent. I had people actually write me and say, I just had that this week. Write me and ask me how I raised my children to represent the kingdom the way they do. This week. And I just said, love and walk in grace and be kind. I didn't know what to tell them. But to me, that's such a testimony. And what are they representing? They're representing us. Who do we represent? Father. We in the kingdom represent Father. Do we always represent him perfectly? No. But my goal is to go there. My goal is to ask him, Father, what's your heart in the matter? How can I demonstrate your heart? What should I do here to demonstrate your heart? Especially when my heart's challenged. He'll never fail to answer me. And he shows me his heart. And if you ask for his heart, he'll give it to you. He'll help you. Jesus said here, he went about healing, having compassion. That was the kingdom. Matthew 10:7 says, and as you go preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Tell people the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Jesus is about to do it. He's about to establish the kingdom. Matthew 10:7 says, heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out demons. Freely you've received, freely you give. What does the kingdom look like? You've received freely, now give freely. And guys, a lot of the kingdom here didn't cost anybody anything when it came to gold and silver. It just cost them believing who they were, healing the sick, raising the dead, cleansing the lepers. That means you got to get close enough to a leopard to cleanse them. You got to get close enough to the dead to raise them. You got to get close enough to demon-possessed people to cast the demons out. You can't hide behind your walls. None of us can. Matthew 5:3 says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And I know Pastor preached on this a couple weeks ago. Blessed are those who mourn, they'll be comforted. Blessed are the meek, they'll inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, they'll be filled. Blessed are the merciful, they'll obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, they'll see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, they'll be called the sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of things evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. When you think about that, all of these blessings, listen, when I read these blessings, this sounds like people going through stuff.
Yeah.
Literally going through stuff, and Jesus is going, you're blessed. Could you imagine when someone says, how are you today? Well, someone's been talking bad about me and they don't appreciate me, they don't love me. Oh my gosh, you are so blessed. You're like, I want to throat punch you right now. Or, when you think about it, all of these things, blessed are the merciful, they'll obtain mercy. That means that you have to be merciful to somebody. That means that you're going to have opportunity to be merciful. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Blessed are the peacemakers. Guess what? You're going to have opportunity to start a war or a conflict or something where you need to bring peace. But you're blessed. Blessed are those who mourn. That means that you're going to go through some stuff, guys. You're going to be sad at times. You're going to mourn. But you will be comforted. I mean, I look at this. All of this is kingdom. The king. What kind of king? This is his kingdom. What kind of king has a kingdom like this? Oh, we don't go through things. Nobody has the right to challenge me. I'll chop off with their heads. I watched enough of those movies. Off with their heads. No, that's not Jesus at all. In this kingdom, that's not how it works. What sort of king does that? And then you have Matthew 18, verse 1, where the disciples came to Jesus and said, who's the greatest in the kingdom? And he said, bring me a kid. Bring me a little child. And he set them down in the midst of him and he said, I say unto you, unless you're converted and become as little children, you'll not enter the kingdom. You can live on this earth. All of us do. But now all of us get to enter into the kingdom. Righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. And he says here, you have to become like a little child. Whoever humbles himself as this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one little child like this in my name receives me. I never forgot this growing up. I remember in Boyne when we were doing the youth. And the Lord spoke to me, he said, children grow up to be adults. Always love children. Art, see them, Cindi, look them in the eyes. Don't stand above them. Get down at eye level and look at them. When they talk, listen to them. Don't tell them, Mom's talking right now, you need to be quiet. I have seen that so many times with parents where a child comes in and they interrupt, because children do, where they're snapped at instead of, just a second, baby, just a second. Okay, now what did you say? What did you say? Tell Mommy. I tell you, that's the kind of stuff that resonates with babies. See the little child. Because that's the kingdom. See through their eyes. Honor them. I tell you, Jesus gave such value to children. When the Lord spoke to me in Boyne years ago and he said, Cindi, there's nothing more pure. There's nothing more anointed and more holy than a child. They're untainted. They're untouched. They come into this earth. I mean, my niece just had a baby this week. She had a beautiful baby girl. Chubby cheeks. Cutest little face. And you look at that baby, totally untouched by life. Unscarred, in its mother's arms, snuggling all day, from what I hear. Loved unconditionally, can't do anything for itself. Can't buy Mom a present, can't drive a car, can't clean the house, just loved. Just because it's a baby. And it's theirs. That's how God looks at us. And they're so untainted, they're so pure, they're so holy and anointed. They're so fresh. Their little hearts can be just written anything on. You can tell them Santa's real and they'll believe you. I saw a video on Facebook that made me want to throw punch a guy. Oh my gosh. He's a preacher. I'm going into the mall today to preach to the children that there is no Santa And I'm going to tell their parents they need to stop lying and teach them the truth. And it went viral. And it was such a sad misrepresentation of the kingdom. People were coming up to him and saying, you need to stop. This is my job to tell my kids, it's not yours. Well, you're lying to your kids. There is no Santa, kids. They're lying to you. There's no Santa. It's all about Jesus. Do you think anybody was hearing him? Because that's not the kingdom. Jesus will let you believe in Santa if you want to. He'll even let you believe in fairies. He's not polar about that. How dare you believe in Santa, not me? He's not insecure. He's just not. He loves little children in the wonder. I put this on Facebook last night because I was looking over at the wall at a picture of me as a baby. And I love that picture of me. It's really one of the only pictures I have of me as a baby. My sister posted one at the same time last night, which was really strange. And it's a little bit different. But I was looking over at that baby in the eyes. I was looking into my own eyes and the wonder. I was like, the wonder in my eyes. And the peace, and just the sweetness of my face. I'm like, I love that baby. I love that baby. I wish I could hold her. And I was thinking, hanging off of my lamp was my gold necklace with the sailboat that God had given me and told me I needed to keep it because it represented sailing and you're moving forward. And I'll never forget that prophetic word. And it's a symbol of a prophetic word to me. But I was looking at that necklace I was looking at the baby first, and all of a sudden the necklace came into focus. And the baby got a little blurry, and I started looking at the necklace, and I thought, it is the journey, Father. It's the journey that we're on. That little baby back then didn't know the journey you had for her. And her eyes were so full of wonder, and they were so full of love and peace, and they were so full of trust. And you can look into the eyes of that baby, and I just saw trust. And there's things that you go through in life that break your trust, wound your heart, cause you to stop wondering, stop believing in people, stop believing the best in people, stop believing in humanity. When you see how humanity treats other people, each other, how the church treats each other, how at times that we don't honor, we don't believe the best, we believe the worst. We automatically go to the worst in our mind, and then we make it real. And we tell people it's real, but we've never proven it's real. It's just real here between our ears. And we start to lose the childlike heart that Jesus is talking about there. We can become cynical and hard because of what we go through in life. And I'm looking at that baby, and I look at her a lot. And I think to myself, keep it, Cindi. Keep it, keep it. If you can keep it, sis, keep the wonder, keep the softness. Keep forgiving, keep forgiving, keep forgiving. Don't stop forgiving. Keep loving. Stay merciful. Stay grateful. Stay with honor in your heart towards humanity. Don't lose it. Because everything in this life will try to suck it out of you if you let it. And you will never, ever know that in the fullness until you get to a place where you're challenged. And you will be challenged. Everybody is. Keep the wonder. I look at that little girl. I wrote a poem about her. I'll probably post it. It was basically, she's still in me. That baby's still in me. Every stage of life is still in me. Everything is still in you. You have the baby in you still. You have the 4-year-old. You have the 10-year-old. You have the 16-year-old. It's all still in you. And every moment that we go through life is actually, it's carving out who we are. Some can get hard and bitter and cynical, and others, you just keep forgiving, and God starts softening areas, and he keeps you soft, and he keeps you pliable, and he keeps you. He keeps you. That's the kingdom we live in. That's what this kingdom's about. That's what the King of the Kingdom's about. That's why he said, give me a little child. Whoever, if you look at the little children, they represent my kingdom. Why? Little kids just don't get mad. If they do, they're only mad for a moment. Yeah. You broke my toy. I don't want to play with you anymore. And then a few minutes later, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You want to go outside? Yes. Yeah. And off they go. I love watching videos of little kids. They make me giggle. I mean, the one with the mom that she was telling her little girl something, and she was all grumpy, and she was really mad and mean. And her mom's like, are you hungry? Yes. Will food make you better? Yes. Do you want something to eat? Yes. I want to eat. I'm hungry. Yes. Yes, Mommy. Whole attitude. Just so sweet. Went from grumpy SpongeBob to this sweet little yes. I just need food. Kids just amaze me. I just love them. If anything makes me smile, it's puppies and animals and kids. If I get grumpy, just go find kids' videos and just watch them till you laugh, and I'll sit there and laugh and giggle, and they just touch my heart. I love it. What does our King look like, guys? I'm going to close on this. What does our King look like? I'm going to tell you. He's one who holds babies and children, and they're not a bother to him. And he never talks down to them. He's one who gives mamas back their babies, and he doesn't take life, he saves life. He gives sight to dirty, poor, blind men. He embraces the lepers and the untouchables, the lowlifes. He dances and rejoices with people at weddings. He gives them wine and song. He heals sickness, all sickness. Nothing's too large or too small. And he heals just because he loves. He requires nothing in return for love. He gives love freely. He embraces those who are trapped in addictions and sexual sin. He gets down in the dirt and he looks them in the eyes. He doesn't stand aloof over them. He sees them and he gives them value. He loves and he embraces those that others despise, especially tax collectors. Tax season's coming, guys. Pray for your tax collectors. He meets secretly at night with those who are too afraid to ask questions during the day. You know, God doesn't even get mad at that. You know, God, I would ask you this, but I might get a lot of ridicule from people, so could we have a private meeting? Sure. He doesn't say, well, how dare you? You're ashamed of me before man? I'm ashamed of you. He'll meet with you at night. He loves you even when you betray him. And he will ask you to fulfill your call. Go ahead and ask Peter. Sadly, Judas didn't believe it. But it would have been the same for him. What sort of king forgives you after you spit on him? What sort of king forgives you after you pull out his hair and his beard? What sort of king forgives you after you whip him beyond recognition? What sort of king forgives you after you mock him and make full of him, bully him? What sort of king forgives you after you take off his clothes to shame him? What sort of king forgives you after you stab him in the side and you nail his hands and feet? What sort of king forgives you after you blame him for your wrong and you turn others against him? What sort of king forgives you after you reject his love and his acceptance? What sort of king forgives you for not believing in him and choosing another god? My king. That's what my king looks like. That's not always what the church says, but that's what my king looks like. I wrote this poem this morning and last night, and I just want to read it because more and more my heart is to represent the King. And all the challenges that come, I need to look at them as stepping stones up. They're just a stepping stone to make you go higher and deeper in love, stronger in grace, and really to mold you into who you should be. If we're not challenged, guys, in life and in love, we don't know how to love deeply. I know the Lord's talked to me in the last few years, and you know, I'm not having a pity party as a pastor. I love what I do. I would not do it for 37 years and still be here if I didn't love what I do. I love people. I am a people watcher. We went to Disney. Kathy had some things to do. I said, that's okay, Kath. I'll sit here and watch people. She goes, you will too. I'm like, yes, I will. Watching the little kids, I stopped her, and it was quite fun because I would stop her. We'd be in line. There wasn't really long lines, but there was a few lines with things we wanted to see. And I would be in line. I'm like, look at that baby over there. Look at that baby. And she would stop, and I'm like, look at his little eyes. Oh, my gosh, I'm melting. Or look at that lady right there. Look at her. Oh, my gosh, Kathy, she's beautiful. Beautiful. And I would just point out all kinds of people. And finally, halfway during the day, she stopped me. She goes, Cindi, when I am with you, she goes, you know what you do to me? I'm like, no. What do I do to you? She goes, you make me see people. You help me see people. You point out everybody to me. And I do, but it was so cool to watch them. And she goes, and no one is a stranger to you. You will strike up conversations with anyone and everything. I'm like, yes. Everything. I'll talk to a log if it will let me. Why? Because people are beautiful. She was so sweet. She said, and this was good because, you know, sometimes it's good to hear how people think about you. If you don't like how people think about you, well, you need to get over that because sometimes people will give you the truest. Okay, true friends will give you a true evaluation of who you are and how they see you. And she does that with me. She will tell me. She's so honest. She's so sweet. And she'll ask my opinion too. And I can be honest with her. I can even say hard things to her and she doesn't get mad at me. Can't find that a whole lot. It is very nice. But she will ask me, I want your true opinion on this. What do you think about this? And you know what? She does the same to me. And we were down there, and she was telling me, she said, when I'm with you, you help me see people. She goes, you've even helped me to realize that people are beautiful, even when I used to think they weren't. Like I would see other people, and I'm like, they're not a good-looking person. She goes, but I try to look beyond what their countenance is, and I'm starting to see them as beautiful. I'm like, well, you know what? You're probably doing a better job than me because I still can see really ugly people. I mean, you look at somebody like, okay, you need a bath. You need a bath. But I'm going to love you anyways. I love it because the king of this kingdom wants us to have his eyes. And guys, it's a training season for us to have his eyes. You're here on earth to learn to love. And you're not going to leave until you do. That's my declaration. I don't want any of us to get to heaven and have Jesus meet us and say, you know what, you really screwed up with the love, go back. You get to do over, retake the test. Because all we have to do is tap into this love. It's not hard if I rely on the grace in here and not here. If I rely on the love in here. When I don't have it, I say, okay, God, I don't got love here. I'm going to throat punch this person. I'm just honest with God. They are totally ticking me off right now. Oh my gosh. They are making me so angry. And then sometimes he'll say, what you going to do about it? He does. And I'm like, well, here's what I want to do, but what I need to do is ask you for your help. And so I ask you, help me. And I'm telling you guys, it works because it's all in here. And it can come from the inside, and you draw it out. And every single one of us have been there, and guess what? Until we die, we're probably going to be there at times. That's why I snickered when I said this isn't heaven. No, everybody in heaven gets along. They all walk in love. Let's see, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is long-suffering. Love thinks the best. You guys, this is what I do. You don't have to do it. But when I'm challenged with people, okay, love is patient. Are you being patient right now? Well, I could do better in my patience, God. Okay, then I need some patience. Love is kind. Are you being kind? Yeah, okay. I need to be kind. Even if I had one person this week when we were talking. I've actually had, it's interesting the messages I get. I had one person, I'm going to do it. I had one person privately message me that I used to go to school with years and years ago. I haven't heard from him ever, in however many years, over 37 years, ever. And he wrote me a private message and said, would you please do a post, a live video on forgiveness? I've been watching you. I watch your statuses. I've watched you for a long time on Facebook, and I want you to do a post on forgiveness. Would you please do that for me? I was like, okay, I think I will. And then I kind of talked to him a little bit, but I'm going to sit down and do it. I just haven't quite got there yet. Been doing a whole lot of stuff on the computer that wasn't necessarily live streaming. But when someone asks you that, it challenges you, okay? Yeah. I'm going to do something on forgiveness. Yeah. And a lot of times people talk out the backside of their mouth. Like, oh yeah, I can forgive, until they're challenged deeply to forgive. And then let's see them put their money where their mouth is. Including ourselves, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, just forgive them. Just forgive them. You need to forgive them. You just need to forgive. That's all. And then you're challenged with a deep, deep wound, and you're like, Someone goes, you need to forgive them. Oh yeah, I have forgiven them. I just can't stand them. Yeah. Yep. Well, then you haven't forgiven them. Yes, I have. I just want vengeance and hatred, and I want all these. May you fall off a cliff and a rock drop on your head, and may Santa Claus run over you with his sleigh, and I hope all the presents get stuck in your nose, and you just go down the list. No, because forgiveness is a choice, and healing your soul to forgive is a whole new puppy. You got to walk that one out. But that's part of the kingdom. It's part of the kingdom. We are representing a forgiving God. What sort of king can forgive someone who just spit in his face? What sort of king, as he's hanging there, bloody, naked, beaten, shamed, says, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. Do you know how often I've used that line? I've used the same line. Father, forgive them. They don't know what they do. They really don't. And I just forgive them. And then I ask, and honestly, guys, you know what? This is quite cool. I ask the Father, you don't have to do this either, but I will ask him, Lord, is there somebody that I need to forgive still? Is there any area that I need to forgive? Almost every time I ask him that, he never goes, nope, you're good. Doing good. You got it. No. He usually shows me one or two things. And sometimes it's just my husband. A lot of times it's just my husband. But even it's little things, you're just like, oh. And he's like, you need to forgive him for that. Or forgive this person for that. You remember when this bothered you? And you kind of took it stabbed you in the heart? Forgive them. They know not what they do. I mean, someone can walk by Laura today and, say whatever to Laura. And not mean a thing by it. Whatever, I don't know, whatever. And not mean a thing by it. And she could go, well, that was rude. And pick up an offense, and they didn't even know that she picked up an offense. Whose responsibility is it then to forgive, them or Laura? Well, I am not forgiving them until they repent to me for what they did. No, Laura, you need to forgive them because you're the one that picked up the offense against whatever it was they did that they may not have even known. Stop being so super Sally sensitive and get over your pride. Whoa, I didn't say that. I love quiet sermons. But you know what? I'm just telling you the way I talk to myself and the way sometimes the Father will talk to me. He does. And the greatest challenge we have is sometimes with our own family. Living in the same doors that we live in because we take each other for granted. And we think I can be rude and insensitive and, whatever to them because they have to love me. They're living in the same house. No, we don't have a right to do that in any way. We represent the King. Righteousness, peace, and joy. Okay, that's the end of that. That's probably, now I'm going to pass out candy after church for everybody's boo-boo. You have the Band-Aids, and you have the suckers. Forgiveness, guys, really is, though, takes practice. You do have candy. Good job. You got the Band-Aids? We have a first aid kit. Yeah. Forgiveness, though, takes practice. And I told you in sermons before how we kind of ease up to it, and then we can get to the really big owies. And when you get there, God's trusting you that you're going to go to the next level and become more and more like Him. It's like that sculpture that Graham Cookie saw in the throne room. I'll never forget it. And the ones that tormented him the worst were the ones that made him the most beautiful. Those that torture you the worst make you the most beautiful. But it's your choice. And it's my choice. I want to stay like the little baby on the wall. I look at her and I really love her. I love her eyes. I love her wonder. I love the way she's gazing at whoever she was gazing at. I love the wonder in her, and I don't want it to ever go away. That means I have to keep the heart of a child. What sort of king? What sort of king would come to the earth knowing he would die? A king of majesty and worth, yet valued you and I. What sort of king would leave his home to sleep in manger bed? No wealth or status he would own, no pillow for his head. What sort of king had us in mind and sang redemption's song? To span all distance, space, and time, make right what was made wrong. What sort of king takes off his coat and wraps up humanity? In crimson color, love was wrote, we call Christianity. What sort of king would give such grace to those who watched him die, to turn and give them love's embrace and never ask the reason why? What sort of king surrendered all to have you in his life? The King of heaven became small to take you as his wife. That's the king that came to earth And that's the reason we celebrate Christmas. That's the King that I love. That's the King that I want to represent. That's the King of my heart. That's the King that I strive to renew my mind to think like, to act like. I'm not perfect. I'm not there yet, guys. Go ahead, Brittany, to the piano. But I'll tell you what, I'm open to him to learn. I'm open to his voice. I'm open to his heart. And I just pray today that you guys hear my heart. Jesus didn't know how much he could love. He was love. But until it was challenged with the cross, and he showed us how to forgive. It's interesting because when I picture Calvary, I picture that, that little baby in the manger who was wrapped in swaddling clothes was like the little picture on the wall. He had such wonder. He's called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. When he came to earth and he was human and he was a little boy, and I'm sure all the feelings of a little boy and all the things that he went through in life and the wonderful, feelings and euphoria that you experience. And then it came time for him to be challenged. Love was challenged. Jesus' love was challenged. And he showed us how to love. He showed us how in his darkest moments, he showed us how to love. Did he show me how to love when he was wrapped in swaddling clothes and a suckling in his mother's arms? Not really. Yes and no. But he showed me how to love when he hung on the cross. That was his best day. It was his best day. It was the day he was exalted. It's the day he was exalted. And God gave him a name above every name, that at the name of Jesus, every knee. He wasn't exalted until he went through. When God said, this day he becomes my son. So we're going to go through things that challenge us to bring us higher. And in the kingdom, you go low to go high. You humble yourself to be exalted. It's so different than the world. The world will say, how dare you talk to me that way? How dare you think this about me? But not in the kingdom. Not in the kingdom. What sort of king? What sort of king do you have? This is my king. I really love my king. I really love my king. And I want to please him. I know I do. I know he accepts me, but I actually want to please him. I want to stop sometimes during the day and just say, Jesus, what could I do today to make you happy? What do you want? And sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it's just, I want you to go over there and talk to that person. That'd make me really happy. Really? Anything else? Has anybody ever felt that way? No, I really want you to go and snow blow your neighbor's yard. That would make me so happy. That's my present. Someone stops and says, hey, I'm stuck. Can you help me? Yeah, that would make me happy. Go shovel the snow with them. Okay, Jesus. I mean, what gift do we give him every day? Us. But it's not just sitting there like a slug on the couch. It's praying for people, maybe sending them a note, maybe sending them a letter, words of encouragement. I tell you, that's That's probably one of my greatest things to do, and I love send out words, just random. I love it. Father, today, we love you. We want to love you and demonstrate your love like never before. We receive all that you are this Christmas season and beyond. What makes you happy, Jesus? What makes you happy? What can we do to bless your heart? And I know the random standard answer is just be you, but I know there's times that you're just like, this would bless me so much, Cindi, if you did this. Help us to hear with those ears. Help us to hear with those ears. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.